We're right now going to be switching into second game, and that's going to be home map for the opponents, aka the Scrubs. Be curious how that's gonna go, and I'm going to be putting on the overlay, and of course, a bit more of a text. And do you have some kind of tip for what's going to be the home map for the Scrubs? We have already talked about the Black Sea, but do you maybe know some kind of insider info that might be circulating behind the scenes?
Insider info. Well, I can't divulge Magic secrets, but they have something planned, and hopefully they can pull out a win.
It's now going to be correcting the score for spot the other one out. And right now, how's it looking in the game? Is actually somebody going to be switching up? Oh, it seems like that we will be seeing a switch as Fox is making an appearance in the game room. He's replacing Shelty. He's replacing Shelty. Okay, so that's going to be interesting. Do you think actually that Shelty play and did anything bad in this game? I don't really think so. So it really might be something, as you said, special for the home map.
Well, I think JS's weakness is Egyptian, and so putting in Fox is not a bad move.
I'm really thinking that right now it's looking terribly close to the Black Sea lineup from actually the semifinals. So that might be something that will come up sooner rather than later. They do have right now 2 home maps to turn the match around. It seems like that everybody is ready, so let's just launch and wait for what the choice is going to be.
Yeah, depending on what the map is, I'll be co-casting this next game or not.
Yeah, exactly. Even though there was an update to the other maps, they should be included all the observer thingies. I don't really think it has been all that tested, so we don't really want to risk any kind of random out of sync or anything in the middle of the map. That wouldn't really be anything great. So if we are going to be seeing maps that are not in the random upset, so that means anything else than Tundra, Midgard, Ghost Lake, and Frozen Waste, then I'm going to be casting alone. But of course, I'm going to be returning for 7-Up's expertise between the games and for the potential other games on other maps. So we're going to see right now. So players are already coming into the game, so I'm just going to put off the overlay so that everybody can see this.
But the outcome of the first game is really important. It sets a lot of pace, it sets the tone for the series. And depending on how well the Scrubs can deal with the pressure and being down a loss and dealing with a failed execution of a strategy, we might just see a 3-0, but hopefully they can come out and change it up.
Yeah, so all the players are right now in the room, so you can join as the last one to see what the home map is going to be. So home map number 1 for the Scrubs, as even though they are having 2 home maps, they actually need to be different, just to make sure they are not going to be repeating the same strategy 2 times in a row. That would be kind of boring. So we are opting for this, and let's see what it's going to be. And yep, it's Black Sea. So yep, I'm going to be seeing you within the next games. So thank you for your help with streaming the first game, and we are going to be waiting for your expertise. So definitely keep an eye on the game so that you can point out what actually went wrong for the players and what didn't.
Yep, I'll be watching the stream. Good luck. And good luck to the players. Black Sea is a fun map.
So this should be pretty interesting because in the semifinals we have seen a really good gameplay from the Scrubs in there, basically 2 times against the Honor players. They definitely knew what they were doing. So yep. Are quite curious what's going to be a special strategy. If maybe they're gonna go for exactly the same thing that they went for in the semifinals. That was double Ra with, I think it was Oranos, the last one. Double Ra and Oranos. I remember correctly. It definitely does have some options because Ra does have infinite basically rocks. That's an option for you to transport. He does have shifting sands, which is of course always useful. And Oranos potentially can build sky passages. So looking at right now the opposing team, Temista with player are so far looking at as Zeus, which definitely makes sense. They have also played Black Sea in the semifinals against the Jungle Lions, and they did succeed as well, even though they were facing very bold strategy from the opponent. So they probably right now know what to do in all of the games. And let's choose Frozen Times Black Sea as the map and wait for other players to get in, because right now we are looking at Fox, Skill and Magic, and player Temista 4 for the opponents, put the other one out, and they are still missing the last player to join them into this game. I can't really remember who it was, the previous map or the previous round. Earth is going to be making an appearance. Okay, so that's basically the same team that has played in the semifinals against the Jungle Lions, which definitely makes sense because they played well, and Earth does play Egyptians, so he will play Ra. I'm thinking that basically makes the most sense on this kind of map. So double Zeus and Ra against quite probably something like double Ra plus Oranos. I'm thinking would be best choice for them. Okay, so Earth is just now accounted for, so we are basically all in. Should be good to go with game number 2 of the Frozen Times finals. So far switches not really happening, but Ra exactly as expected from Earth. Zeus from player at Temistad, there's probably not going to be any kind of choice, they are already ready with the teams. But we are waiting for the home team on this map, and that's the Scrubs to prepare with the gods that they want to use. Fox is quite probably really going to stick with Ra. I'll be fully expecting Magic to switch into the Egyptian. Askiel is a bit of a mystery to me, not looking with what gods he actually does have experience. He might be switching into like literally everything. He can play Egyptians from what I remember, he does play Norse, he can play Ati. Of course, everyone can play Ati. And well, let's wait then. Doing some small problems with communication, definitely not great if they are preparing some strategy. Yeah, they will talk in game, so they think that it's going to be just fine, the communication that they need to make. And we are finally switching switches, or rather seeing switches, as Magic is right now Isis. Interestingly enough, and what kind of choices does she have? She doesn't have Shifting Sands, but if I remember correctly, she can actually go. And yes, right now he's going for Ra, of course. So yeah, that's that. Let's turn off the music and we're gonna be ready for game number 2 of the finals of the Frozen Times tournament. Oh, GLHF. And the last player to click in is going to be Askiel, as he is switching into Zeus. So basically very similar lineups as we are right now looking at double Zeus and Ra. Of course, spot the odd one out, whereas the opponents are having the opposite, double Ra plus Zeus. So close your bets, what's going to be the better choice? Well, obviously Zeuses do have underworld passages, but they are kind of one-trick pony, and if they don't work out, you don't have all that much extra to go on, but they still do have at least one Ra, so I'm fully expecting a very unusual Black Sea this time around. Right now, of course, at the very start of the game, there are not really all that great stuff to be seen around the map, so as they are hard divided by the water, so you're gonna be waiting how the scouting is gonna go for all the players. And that means that we might just as well look at the placement that, for example, right now, player together with the Mistara on the right, whereas the last player, okay, it's actually turned around. Oh, that's an unusual spawn, because all the spawns before were actually left-right, but right now it's up-bottom. So that's going to be a bit of a switch in here. And we are looking at some interesting backfishes, actually quite interesting ones right now for the team with green, teal and yellow, and that's spot the other one out, as they are just now having a bit of meeting with the Kataskopos, exactly enjoying the view of the water with a lot of fish at the back. Should be something similar for the opponents as well once they scout in there. In the meantime, we are of course looking at Earth on the right side, who is just right now going to be building a dock. And I'm thinking that it's slightly better to be having the Egyptian on the flank, because of course, as Egyptian, he can spam a lot of docks, and since the water on the right and on the left, the channels are basically very similar to Anatolia, that is a pretty strong power strength for Egyptians, and he is definitely making use of it. In the meantime, we are seeing a bit different strategy from Fox in building the rock, as he's going for a lot more into the middle, which is not really all that great usually, because it means that the player who is a bit further to the side of the map is going to be making use of all the fishies somewhere on the right. Right now you can look that basically Fox is going to be aiming for that water as well, but he's going to be a bit later. So better position for Earth and slightly worse for Fox because he will be having an inefficient dock. This one will be inefficient as that's going to be a lot of walking time or rather sailing time for all the boats as they are right now moving all across the map. He seems to be basically stealing fishies. That was quite clever as he has seen that yellow is already having fishing boats in there. He has sent the blue one to basically steal this third possibility from Earth. That's very nicely played. And looking at the other placements of the docks, we are looking at Temista basically in the middle, which is understandable because he is the pocket. But on the other side, we are also looking that player is much more to the side of the map. So basically that's definitely a strategy from JSS plus TSM to go a bit more into the flanks, whereas their opponents are going a whole lot more into the middle. So they're thinking that the most important battles will be happening somewhere in the middle and not on the flanks. So yep, that definitely seems like the kind of strategy that they will go for. In the meantime, we are seeing interesting waters on the left and right, rather on the left. And I'm really curious if this is actually going to be sailable through. Because if it is, then that's a really funny spawn. A really funny spawn indeed. That could be making for pretty big problems for Askill, for potential some kind of sneaky landing on the very back. This DC is definitely closed for water, but it's pretty much the same for the one on the opposing island or other half of the map. The same as on the right side, so that's not any kind of advantage. Whereas in the middle, we are seeing a bit more problems right now for Magic's team, for the scraps, because of course this TC will be in water range if they lose the water. But to be quite frank, if you lose the water on this map, you are kind of one step closer to the grave. So it's not like the difference is all that big once you lose the TC. The more important stuff is if you lose the water. Temista, interestingly enough, is going for a second TC at the back, not even in the front. That's really curious indeed. As we are looking at the other players are probably going to be continuing in the middle. Magic most definitely is. We are looking at 1, 2, already 3 dogs for Fox in the corner, whereas Earth is having still just 2. He's having still just 2. And even though he's having a few fishing boats in there, he definitely let his opponent basically outboom him on the water, and it might come back to bite him, and I think I underestimated the situation. Maybe didn't expect what his opponent is gonna do, but of course, this is a home for the scraps, so they do have a bit better thought through strategy, a bit more thought through strategy coming their way. A lot of fishes in the middle, of course, as we are looking at second TC being built from ASCII on the right. So they are really funneling absolutely everything into the big pond in the middle. He's not really interested in the left side at all, and I'm really waiting to see if this is going to be passable or not. But looking at it right now, I'm fairly certain that it's actually going to be, and there are a lot of fish that might be coming into players' power, and those fishes definitely should have been coming for the scraps. So we are at 4.5, so we should be advancing into Hermes, of course. That's right now for player. Temista is already into Hermes as well. Whereas on the right, Earth is just now not advancing, but he's definitely waiting. Right now into Ptah. 20% Ptah into Fox. Oh, he's actually a lot faster than his opponent, and that's of course 45% right now for Magic, going to be caused by the higher amount of fishing boats because he's having a lot of extra above Earth. That will make quite a ton of difference, especially right now with the rest being quite inefficient for the yellow player. So let's see who's gonna execute slightly better. Right now, we are yet again seeing Athena. I think they have played the Athena also in the semifinals, so that's going to be a bit different gameplay from them, and they are hard aiming for winning the water in the classical. And they are hoping that that will win them the game. But they mustn't forget that their opponents are having double underworld passage. So even though the water might be lost, you still have some kind of a Pegasus, or you have frogs or such, that you actually can gain proper line of sight on the other half of the map and potentially surprise your opponents and even win the game from there. So winning the water might not really be all that crucial in this game all around. Right now, of course, player on the left side with Askill having a bit of fun, but since Askill has advanced slightly faster and no, actually not really all that faster, but much more importantly, you can see that the player just as he advanced went for Pulsane. Just as he advanced. Well, that's really unusual. Even before he went for any 3MS, he went for Pulsane. His opponents are not doing anything like that. Like literally anything like that. You can see Earth also not. But Temista also did. So you can see they are both going for Pulsane. And they have some kind of strategy from there. For Temista, of course, it makes sense because of the fishies at the back. And well, player is thinking that since he is alone, basically on the left side of the map, he should be able to hold. And I kind of think so. that the person is going to be coming back, as he can hold on long enough, I'm thinking, even if they happen to lose the water. And that should be quite useful for them. Of course, some big fishies right now waiting to be captured by the opponents, as we are looking at some small pond for Earth on the right. So, yeah, going to be all up to this, if it's going to be captured by Askill or not. As in the middle, we are looking that Red is having a pretty big fleet already, a whole lot bigger than player. Well, that's of course going to be resulting in some interesting restorations sometime along the way. So we are looking at Magic having a bit of fun with Themyscira in the middle, and that does seem like Magic is having slightly upper hand, but restoration is being called right now on the left, as that basically will ensure that Askill will be having the pretty strong upper hand as opposed to player. Where is this villager looking for second dock, rather third dock? Yep, for another dock. Quite risky placement. Definitely could have placed the villager at least from the bottom to at least protect him from the fights, but he's thinking that it's going to be quite fine, and it seems like that so far it's going to be. But if I were him, I would be maybe already thinking about trying to at least land a few villages just to be sure, because so far we are not seeing any kind of attempts like that that could potentially be sneak on the right, basically the same as on the left. We going all the way up here. That could be quite tricky for the opponents. Whereas in the middle, it seems like that basically everybody is fighting just 1v1s. But that's not really going to be true anymore, as Askill is joining with Magic. And that should basically mean Themyscira is pretty much skewed. But he's going for... Oh, ceasefire! Oh, that's interesting. Because he is right now sacrificing ceasefire that could be used for stealing town centers using Underworld Passage to make sure that they don't lose water so often, or rather, so soon. And that's not a bad choice. Looking at the upgrades, of course, the Pursein, looking at the opponents are still not having it. Right now, Earth going for a bit of raiding, and that's basically signaling to us that he's not having all that much of a fight against Fox, even though Fox is right now in the middle. So it's really aiming for a very huge fight. And should Themyscira actually switch somewhere else? I'm not all that sure, because you can see that all three players are right now moving somewhere else. As player is right now going for the fishies on the left, trying to capture them for himself. Kinda curious, or rather curious. This is basically why it's usually better to go through corners, because you are having a bit more fishies in there, and Askill, if he went there, he might have had pretty good economy. But that wasn't the kind of idea that they were having for the water fights in here. We are looking also at second TC being captured by Magic, and Fox on the right side. And also for Askill, so everybody's going for second TC. Whereas their opponents, they really aren't all that much, just player on the left, and that's pretty much it. So let's see how the big battles are right now gonna go, but looking at the number of boats, you gotta guess. I think we can quite safely guess, as even though Themyscira is trying to help himself with some tanks, aka Pegasi, yeah, it's probably not going to be all that easy battle for him. And Earth is right now battling against Blue, but not having all that much of a luck, as the numbers are not really in their favor. And really, this is so far going quite well for the Scrubs, even though the economic advantage should be really through the Pursein, the opponent's side. So I'm really looking forward to what spot the other one out are going to be thinking about what to do next. Still not really been fully explored, so that doesn't seem like that player is actually aware that some kind of situation like that is brewing in. As we are looking at pretty big fights still happening on the left, but, well, Themyscira is actually still keeping it very much alive, even against two opponents, as he was fighting in. And well, yeah, there is some kind of lag. It was in the first game as well. Unfortunately, it seems like there might be some kind of connection problem between the players, even though it wasn't seen in the room or in the lobby. So that might be just some temporary thingies. Yeah, it's looking that it could be Themyscira. He's sometimes having problems with his internet, but hopefully it's gonna get fixed. Because of course we are in for quite interesting games between all those players. But in the meantime, let's have a look around the map once they resume the game, as Earth is still having enough boats, so he's fighting right next to the dock. And I kinda think that he might actually use a few more. He might just want to build extra in this position. That would definitely help him, because he's fighting for, in this situation, rather in this spot for quite some time. But looking at also at the second and third ECs already, JSS plus DSM should definitely be going for them a bit more valiantly because their opponents most definitely are. You can see that only Fox is going to be at 2 TCs, but Magic and Askill are already at 3. Whereas for JSS and TSM is just 2, 1, 1. Earth going for second, but that's pretty much it. So they are still fully fighting on the water, but the economical advantage is gonna be getting away from them, and they need to be careful about that quite a lot. On the left, it's almost looking like that actually player might be having the upper hand quite soon. His numbers are already not superior for Askill, even though he's jumping up in the score lead, but just for a second. Right now spending a lot of resources. And are we gonna see all the upgrades right now? Plow, Pursein, Shaftmine and Shadow. So Earth come in for a bit more economy as well. And Askill definitely thinking that he can keep the economy on the water, which is kinda curious. Because to begin with, he doesn't have all that many fishing boats. He's having like literally 3. He's having 3 active fishing boats. And he's going for Pursein. Not that it wouldn't be a great idea if he hopes to win the water, but right now it doesn't really look like that he will. You can see that of course Temista is already in the heroic age. These have siege bows. And I'm right now not really all that sure that they might be able to win the water all that much. Because even though they do have the economy and they seem to be aiming for it, they might have slightly overboomed through the extra TCs, and that of course slow their advance times into the next ages. And right now the heroic from Temista might be playing a pretty big role. Let's check it yet again. Here there are some anti-tanks being researched. And replow, so no extra ages. So I'm thinking this is going to be making a pretty huge difference in the water battle, especially considering that right now Yellow doesn't have to fight all that much. He actually doesn't have any boats whatsoever. He's right now at 3 TCs and basically booming as much as he can. Relic for better Archer Ballista, Kiro Ballista attack. Well, could have been slightly better. And Earth going for the raid right now, which is going to help him because, oh wow, Magic right now going for the farms. That basically meant that he was attempting to cast it, and that's actually quite useful for him because it means that Fox, as another Ra, is not going to be taking any advantage of it. But much more importantly, right now, Magic is not going to be having the 120% boost as Earth is right now having, so that might be an advantage for the yellow player. And really, those little things might be making a difference, especially once you are attempting to advance into the next ages. You can go in it's the Apollo 4 player. So really, the ages are right now coming quite strongly for SM player and Temista, and that's basically because of the water economy. They are having such a huge boost through all those fishies with the Pursein, both of them for quite some time already. You can see Salt Amphora, Temista, and still the siege boats are coming in pretty big numbers, and since their opponents aren't advancing for hammer ships, this is just going to be too easy. And it even allows, of course, the yellow player not to do anything on the water at all, and they are basically fighting 2 versus 2. Let's face it, you don't see really Askill having all that many boats. Actually having none. As Magic is right now going for the rain, and we see the dock at the bottom. And in the end, oh well, I still can't see it. Can't see it if it's possible or not. It might be or it's not, but it's not really mattering all that much because right now the water battle is just coming one way, even though Temista is just alone fighting against 2 opponents, but siege boats against arrow boats. Yep, that's just a one-way street in there. But we should be seeing heroic age from Magic coming in. Oh, that's a lot of upgrades right now. Fox half for Earth going half for Magic. Not really in the heroic. He hasn't advanced yet. No, he hasn't, if I missed something. Coppermail, Bowsaw. Oh man, that's a lot of upgrades actually. Purseins, Salt Amphora. This is really interesting seeing all the upgrades into the boats. The boat economy from the players that actually don't have all that strong presence. Yeah, this lag is really kinda bad. And it actually seems like that it might be some kind of problem between Askill and Temista. Because one team actually sees probably Temista as the lagger, whereas the other one sees Askill as the lagger. So it's looking like that actually somebody probably is right now dropping a drop, so we're gonna have to restore, which is definitely a shame that you're not gonna have the full recording. But we are still streaming, so we are gonna have this for the game. Right now they are not really talking, so I'm gonna check outside of the game if maybe they already went out. doesn't always show to the streamer, rather the observer. Ah, a skill already dropped. Okay, so he's already out of the game altogether. So we probably go out of the game and we'll be restoring. So yep. Yep, everybody's pretty much out. So let's go out as well. Everything seems to be just fine. Everybody is accounted for. We are seeing basically exactly where we left, and we are seeing an interesting spot that we actually haven't noticed a bit before. On the left, player right now having a bit of fun with the fishing boats from red. And he's probably soon going to be discovering, finally, if this is possible or not. If I had to guess, this is going to be possible. I'm really thinking it from the very start. And if it is, there might be a pretty interesting potential for some sneaky underworld passage to the back, which even Askill might not be really all that aware of. As we are looking, of course, on the water beam, basically so far going so convincingly for Temista, but he needs to start to be careful, because the opponents are, of course, as we have seen a bit earlier, advancing into the next ages. Right now, even Hephaestus coming for a player. Askill for Apollo, finally. But hammer ships should be coming in pretty big numbers reasonably soon, as of course, heroic ages are really trickling in without any kind of doubt. On the left, TSM player is right now going to be pursued by both Fox and Magic, as we are seeing ships coming up or not. Not really, interestingly enough. So it's almost looking like that actually Lats, or rather Lat skill with Magic and Fox, are thinking that the water might not be all that worth it for them to fight over, which is kind of curious as we are looking, oh, right now at pretty clever idea. Oh, this is well played. This is well played by Fox, because he is basically getting rid of all the farms, so that Earth doesn't have the advantage from the rain. This is such a clever one. Such a clever one indeed, because the other opponents are not really having all that many farms. Yeah, player having the one and a few more extra in there, so it's at least something for him that this is really super well played and definitely a pretty great idea for him. In the meantime, we are right now looking at, of course, hammer ships coming into the play, as they are going to be attempting to get rid of everything, and with Magic having enough arrow ships getting rid of the hammer ships from Temista, we are looking at the water right now coming potentially back into the opponent's side, but we mustn't forget about this, as the rocks are already in, as Earth is trying to switch and going somewhere a bit further north. As of course Fox is trying to take them down, but careful, careful, because there are a bit more units than you were ready for, like Priest and the Pharaoh. So he will have to drop somewhere, but this one is dead, and he's carrying actually what? Oh, he was carrying something. Or was he just a decoy? He was probably just a decoy, so that was a bit of luck for him, but the TCs are all over the place, with Earth coming right now into Horus, and where he is going to be dropping, somewhere next to the back. Potentially could be, and that's still not a good spot enough, because of course mercenaries could be coming up out of this position, but he is definitely fishing for some good placement for him, and it's opting for this one. So underworld passage right now for Temista on the left, as he's fully going through Pegasi into offensive, so this is right now the deal, rather the big deal that is going to be coming into play. Interestingly enough, Askill was having Mythical Age in the most unsafe town center, in the front one, so he almost paid for it, if maybe Temista or other player was slightly faster, one of them, because they are going for basically the same. It might be a pretty big problem for them, but we are looking right now that this TC from red is definitely coming into opponent's hands, and we are going to be expecting some kind of reaction from the opponents. In the meantime, of course, Miguel has been finished on the top from Earth, as he's having basically his opponent waste a whole lot of resources on these dudes, and we are also looking at the gold villages that were gold before, but finishing with the trade. Basically being the reason that the logos are being cast on Earth's villages, trying to get rid of them, but he wasn't really all that successful in that magic. It was well worth it, and it's looking like that this is not going to be long-lived all that much. But let's have a look on the left side, where the push of the double Zeuses is really strong, and oh well, that's gonna get researched before the TC is down, so I'm going to be buying him a few extra minutes, or other minutes, seconds in the fight, as of course Red is also ready and try to fight in there. Definitely well used bolt against the Helepolis. as the helipolis is always a pretty big problem. But looking at the amount of units right now, the TC is yet again coming down, which means that Askil is dropped just one, and he is also getting crippled economy, because on the water, it seems like, even though his team is kinda winning, well, kinda, it is winning, they have already won. And it's going to be pretty important because, or rather the land, because of course player is already still in the TC and he might be aiming for the one at the top. And since they do have one extra ceasefire still available at their disposal, and Magic with Fox went actually for Son of Osiris instead of Tornado, we are looking at Earth right now, Tornado in at the bottom, and... oh, what? He's trying to kill the trade. That's not a bad idea. He's basically giving himself time, and that's actually not badly played, because he is using it to give himself time, not to really kill the market. He wants just to get rid of all the army and keep it busy from the blue player so that he can somehow set up himself up at the top. But for that he actually needs to do something. So far isn't. And of course right now Earth going for a bit more fun on the water, as of course through the water siege he has been able to kill Fox's front TC, because he's going to be coming into his power, but not anytime soon. And the farms are of course going up in flames, or flames going to be away as well, as we are looking at the front TC yet again going to be captured by player, who is gonna be at 5, because of course there is absolutely no counterplay to this. In the meantime, of course, we have also seen that Magic has been able to transport himself to the other side of the map through a rock as well, but Temista is at least aware, and player as well, as he's building a tower, and the big doll probably not going to be finished because I don't see Pharaoh. I don't see Pharaoh because those two guys are dead, so Pharaoh is probably dead as well. So it shouldn't really be finishing all that much, as Earth is losing TC right next to his front position, and Fox is going for it himself. So there's a lot of stuff happening at the same time, literally all across the map. This is very well played by Fox attempting to steal the TC, but the villagers are still in place, and this Avenger without any kind of priest or Pharaoh. Oh man, that's going to be a horrible slaughter of all the villies just by this one dude. Yeah, the Birdman is definitely having an outing in here, and this TC is not coming up, and even though it was a pretty great idea, it's not going to work out, as player is on the 5 TCs having so many Helepoli, with Temista setting himself on the left side, and the last TC for Askil has been killed as well, so he's at 0 for just a bit longer, as of course he's going to be back to 1, but also at the back we mustn't forget that Earth has been able to establish himself. Yet another Migdal, this is going to be just now dead, through the Migdal Strong, or rather through the siege tower, but of course the stoppage of the trade is another pretty important spot right now coming for Spot the Odd One Out, as they are doing exactly what they should be doing, whereas the back build from Magic is definitely not working as he would have hoped. He's still having the rock available, so he potentially could be trying something up, but of course, with all the units, the camels basically stopping the trade and even going on to the goal of Magic. I'll be thinking that that actually the resources of the opponents are not really all that great. And looking at right now, the next build of Earth right next to the front TC of Fox, it seems pretty strong because towers are up with the Migdal and Eddies are the unit of choice. Already having pretty decent upgrades, iron weapons, bronze and copper, whereas blue is having what? Blue is having no, nothing. Okay, that's interesting. And player using Bolt to get at least a few damage hit points into the Son of Osiris, as of course Magic is concentrating on helping his teammate regain at least one of the town centers, because of course he is still at 0 and a lot of Helepoli of course still present in here. So in the fight, it was second Bolt right now by Temista to kill the Son of Osiris, with Askil going in with villagers, hoping that he can somehow capture the TC for himself, and it seems like that they are pushing through heavy chariots with copper, and iron weapons, interestingly enough. With Red having champion Hypaspis, copper, that's not bad, but looking for example at Teal, he's having heavy and iron and bronze, so he's a bit better in the upgrades, and player is even better than that. You can see he's having champions, iron and bronze weapons, so they are definitely in a pretty good spot. Right now I'm kinda halfway thinking that it's all about using the ceasefire in some kind of good situation for them, as we are looking at pretty nice back build from Temista, who is basically creeping up on Magic, slowly but surely, going to be coming for a lot of Colossi for him to help him get rid of the town centers, and still the blocked trade. That's super important right now, because you can see there is no other trade going on for the opponents, and that of course is not ideal. In the meantime, Fox has been able to establish himself right next to the TC, get rid of all the yellow buildings and such, keeping Earth at just 2 TCs because of the water. So that's very well played by him, but right now I'm thinking that all they need to do is basically keep them busy. keep their opponents busy, and somehow establish themselves on the left, and through there go into the offensive. But of course, not going to be easy, as they are not about to give up the scraps, and they are definitely going for it very hard. Even with Asgil, who is at 1 TC, but seems to be having the best military presence right now. Hipasp is coming up as well. I'm kinda thinking that we might be, or rather the Spotty or one out, would want to build some other units, like maybe Dog Swords. Wouldn't be half bad in this choice, because they are facing a whole lot of Hippaspists. And since they are having Hippaspists themselves and are facing Dog Swords and Chariot Archers from their opponent, that's of course not really all that great. Not all that great, but well, I will see it on the TC right now, taken down for player from the very back, so the water is going to be a bit more of a problem than maybe TSM player would have hoped for. T in the front yet again lost for Eskil, who is just back to 0. Back to 0, and right now I'm thinking that it wouldn't be the worst kind of idea for JSS plus DSM to actually try to kill the villagers, because I don't think that Askil is having all that many of them. Should be having really a low amount. Let's check the posts. He's having like 30 citizenship units, and 5 of those are basically boats, or rather 7 of those. So he's having like 20 villages. So if he lost all of these guys, and that's 12 of them, he would be basically out of the game. He would be totally useless, so I'm not all that sure right now building market so that he can get some extra resources, but really, that might be some kind of idea for Spotty or One Out, how to close the game, because they are obviously having problems, but not any longer, as the battle seems to be decided because of the trade at the back, and of course, pretty great idea of Earth, basically making use of the Migdol and the extra little build at the very back, so very nice game. And it all happened really, really fast after the restore. Basically attacks on all over the place. But really, this worked very nicely. Coordination on top from Spotty or One Out. And I think they pretty much surprised the Scraps. They weren't really expecting this kind of coordinated attack on both sides. And well, that was really pretty great for them. Well, Earth definitely did lose a lot of villages, but Blue also, and you can see that in the end he was also landing on the other side, but unfortunately it was a bit too late, because Aski was basically out, and with the Colossi coming into the game, of course from Temista in pretty big numbers, and the top push right now from Catapults from Earth, they were also killing magic, so not all that many chances for the Scraps to come back. Yeah, fortunately Askil right now noticing that he might have some kind of back, well, unfortunate. But not really thinking that might have been a game decider, because the underworld passage push was pretty brutal and very fast. He definitely wasn't ready for that. And looking into the post game, we are looking at player having the best score. And that's, I think, mainly because of the British water economy at the start, but I definitely like how Temista played on the water, kept it alive for quite a long time, and then in the heroic age, with the faster heroic age, he definitely made it a whole lot more interesting than what the Scraps hoped for. Well, he was really having a lot of resources himself. Player, and quite a lot extra above the opponents. Like a ton extra, actually. It's a huge difference. He had like 10,000 more resources than the opponents. 20,000 more than Earth. 10,000 more than Temista. Well, that was some beastly echo. Really, some beastly echo. Looking at the upgrades, not really anything all that out of the ordinary. Just player exactly making use of all the resources in his favor. Three players having the most of the boats. Pretty fast decline of Askil was really facing the brunt of the force of the opponents. Alright, GG.